What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Deadball TV. We got another edition of AFC Tough Questions. This is episode 4, and Michael from Michael Talks Football is joining me once again. Yes, we have done this 3 other times. We do this every single international break after the Asian qualifiers are done. If you guys want to go check out the previous episodes, they are out on the channel, and we're going to do a ultimate final episode after match day 10 in June. And goodness gracious, there's going to be so many things to talk about. We might drop 10 hours of collective content on our channel, so make sure you're subscribed to both if you like AFC football. Michael, I'm going to start us off here with this one. Was Jesus Casas a failure with Iraq? You see what I'm getting at here?
I'm just thinking. No, he wasn't. I don't think he was. I think he actually was not. You couldn't say like very successful, but he actually brought like Iraq in the 2022 World Cup qualifying, the final round. What did they get? Like 8-9 points, something like that. I don't think it was a lot of points
9.
they accumulated, and they were in a tough group. Granted, I think it was like Iran, South Korea, if memory serves me right. Now they got 12 points. And they did pretty well at the Asian Cup. Obviously, the dramatic game against Jordan, we all know what happened there. Ayman Hussein, they really should have won that game. If they didn't get the red card in that matchup, we could have probably seen Iraq make it to the semifinal, possibly the final. With the way they were playing football and the path they had, I thought, man, this is prime for Iraq to do well. Now, you could say the last 8 games in World Cup qualifying, it hasn't gone well. I think Jesus Casas, I think the pressure got to him. You have to remember, this is his first real managerial job in his career. So he doesn't know, he understood the circumstances of taking the job, but it's the added pressure. Like Iraq have not been to the World Cup for a long time, and all that, the media coverage and all the people and Iraqis are getting hyped up about the team. But who actually brought up the hype to this team? Jesus Casas. And also the players that have been called up to this team, and Ayman Hussein doing it very well, Ali Jassim, and these sort of players. So I would say his time has been successful, but it's just missing that last part, which is these last 8 games in the World Cup qualifiers, where it could have been, I mean, you could have given them a lifetime contract to Jesus Casas. If he qualified to the World Cup in this group, lifetime contract, because Iraq have not been to the World Cup. Go ahead.
Can I draw a comparison here? Is it like George R.R. Martin not finishing the Game of Thrones books?
That's actually a very good comparison. Or when George Lucas selling Star Wars to Disney.
Exactly. It's like, to look at it and say he was a failure is almost objectively incorrect, because it's like he got deleted from his own story halfway through the book. You're reading Harry Potter and all of a sudden Ron Weasley is the main character on page 400 and you're like, wait, what happened to Harry? And he's just never mentioned ever again. That's kind of what it feels like with Jesus Casas. I feel and I have a sympathy for the Iraqi fans who are really frustrated with him, but exactly like you said, the reason there are these expectations on the team is also Jesus Casas, in the belief that he was able to put in this team and in this fan base. And now he's not even given the opportunity to finish his chapter. And the last book example, it's like Odysseus dies halfway through the Odyssey. And now we got to follow some side character till he gets back to Greece. It's just like, this could have been an amazing book. Looking back at it now, it wasn't a terrible book. It was actually quite a good one. You and I were looking up the stats right before we started filming of any manager in Iraqi history with 30 games or more, which isn't very many because Iraq have a ton of managers. Different manager every single year. He's got the highest win percentage of all of them. So you look at it and you're like, actually, this was a pretty good story. And now the author's dead, and what happens? We don't know how this ends. And I want to pose this for you. Before qualifying started, Iraqis, answer down below, and Michael, I want to hear your response. Before qualifying even started, in round 3, if I told you that Iraq finished 3rd in Group B, go to round 4, and then qualify through round 4, they win their group of 3 in round 4, would you have said that's a success?
100%. They qualify for the World Cup.
I agree. So that's what I'm like, I don't know. It just feels a little unjust, a little harsh for anybody to call Casas a failure. I think he was actually a pretty good manager, both from a pure results, but from a vibe and a belief standpoint for the national team. And here's kind of a mini question here. Who's sacking is a bigger risk? Iraq sacking Jesus Casas or the UAE sacking Paulo Bento?
I was going to ask that same question.
Oh, damn, my bad.
Yeah, I had that. No, you're good. I think it's more of a risk sacking Paulo Bento. Here, you don't want to know why? Here's some stats for you for Paulo Bento. 26 matches in charge of the UAE, 14 wins. The second most ever. 53.9 winning percentage, second best ever. 23.1 losing percentage, the best ever. 1.85 points per game, the second best ever. 47 goals, the third best ever. Do you think Paulo Bento did a pretty good job with the UAE? Do you think he deserved to get sacked? For me, I don't think so. I think that's just external, maybe
Did either
factors.
deserve to be sacked?
Jesus Casas, I think so. I think you could just see the trajectory of the style of play. I think the players were kind of giving up on him with Jesus Casas. I think that was just the ship. They had to pull the plug. I didn't think it was smart to do it now with 2 games to go. I'm going to be honest. When I saw Paulo Bento get sacked, I was like, are you kidding me? Is this like a fake account? Is this like
I
InfoWars
thought I
information?
tweeted it. It looked like something I drafted. I was like, hold on, am I dreaming? Paulo Bento sacked? No, I'm just kidding.
So I think Paulo Bento is a much more riskier sacking. I think Jesus Casas was a bit dead man walking. We saw what if they lost that Kuwait game? Adios, buddy. You're not getting back from that job. So when they bottled it against Palestine, I was like, yeah, it's been a good ride, Jesus Casas, but it's time to move on. And maybe this Iraq team, it just needs a new, fresh ideas. Like 34 games in charge is a lot in international football. So maybe getting a new ideas, a new voice into the changing room will help this team. Paulo Bento, Jack, I don't know what your reaction is. I'm shocked. I really am.
Yeah, I would say for Jesus Casas, a dead man walking is a great way to describe the situation with him. I said this in my Group B recap that for me, we saw what Iraq could be under Jesus Casas, both in round 2, but at the Asian Cup as well, and the potential of this team. And so if every national team is a cup, right, and the manager's trying to fill the cup up to 100%, Casas got Iraq to like 90% full. Like, I'm not sure how much better Iraq could have been in the group stage of the Asian Cup. That was like, yo, is this team going to win the whole tournament? Like, that was genuinely what we were thinking at the time. And, like me with this coffee mug, he's just been sipping and sipping and sipping, and now we're down to 50%. Whereas Paulo Bento, how much better can the UAE actually be? I don't know. I don't rate Bento. I think he's an average manager, but he was doing about what you would expect. UAE are in third. They've got, 3 losses to Uzbekistan and Iran twice? What manager's beating Iran with this UAE squad? Nobody.
Or beating Uzbekistan.
Or beating Uzbekistan in Tashkent with a red card? You think Jurgen Klopp comes in here and just takes 9 points from those games? Like, it must be. Remember when he didn't bring Ali Makbout to the Asian Cup, their all-time leading goal scorer?
Yeah.
There must be an issue in the back end, right?
Yes.
Surely somebody, the FA, got pissed at Bento. Maybe Bento didn't, I don't know, bow when he entered the room or some shit. And he was like, you know what? If you don't win these next games convincingly, you're out. They did squeak by North Korea, but I actually think that's because North Korea are just better than people think versus UAE having a stinker that game. I mean, they dominated. They just couldn't get the goal. They don't have a striker. It is a huge risk for the UAE. And I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. What? You're not catching Uzbekistan for second. So what? Your ceiling with Bento was always qualified via round 4. And now that you've sacked Bento, your ceiling is qualify via round 4. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I'm trying to think of like another sporting example.
Do you think a lot of these teams, because we've seen a lot of sackings during this round of AFC qualifiers, probably the most I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Bro, 50% of the teams have probably sacked their coach.
Yeah. Do you think teams are seeing the chance to qualify to the World Cup? Because obviously it's going to be a huge marketing thing for some of these national teams that they're seeing this opportunity that even if they have a little bit of a slip up, they're like, let's pull the plug right here. Do you think it's just so much pressure on qualifying and the opportunity to do so that we're seeing so many sackings?
Yeah, and I think the coach is always taking the fault every single time things don't go their way. I mean, Shin Tae-yong's a great example. Like, Indonesia don't perform in the AFF Cup, and that's cited as a reason for his dismissal. A U23 tournament where barely any Indonesian players actually went. I think maybe 2 of their 23-man roster attended the tournament. I just think if a result goes poorly, it's so easy for the FA to just sack the coach. And then it's like, it almost forces the fan base to reset expectations, even if things aren't going super well. And then on the flip side, sometimes the coach is the actual problem. Like with Oman, like bringing in Jaber, I think has really turned around that national team. So I just think it's like, all right, well, you can't just bring in a new 11 unless you're Indonesia. Most teams actually have to, develop players and promote them from their domestic league or abroad. So I think it is natural for them to panic and sack the manager, even though I think in a lot of cases, including Bento, including Shin Tae-yong, Katanich stepped down, so that's a different situation where I'm like, you guys just seem like you don't have a plan long term as a federation. Seems like you just panicked a little bit and you kicked out the pilot because it was the easy thing to do rather than, I don't know, just give them time and let them develop the team. What do you think?
I think teams are just looking at the opportunity to qualify and saying, "Hey, let's make a change right now." I think that's what I believe, because now with the extra spots in AFC, there's more opportunities. Like, we're gonna see one of either Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, maybe Indonesia qualify for the World Cup. That's a general possibility. Like, one of them will qualify to the World Cup. So I think it's just like seeing that opportunity, just that little light through the tunnel, and they're like, "Okay, let's go for it. Let's." If it's not working out with this manager, all right, get the next one in. And I think that's what Indonesia really saw. They're like, okay, Shin Tae-yong, you're not playing the best football. Let's get in a European manager. Let's bring in Patrick Kluivert. Big risk. Jesus Casas with Iraq. I feel like that's going to be really bad downfall. Obviously, UAE. Obviously, Katanich had to step down. So there's just so many sackings. I can't even keep up right now as an AFC fan. I can't keep up with all these sackings. I just think there's an opportunity for these teams, and they're doing everything in their power to do so. Either you're getting all these new players like Indonesia, also UAE, they called up new players this window, or just bring in a new manager and see if that changes results.
Which new manager do you think has validated their appointment the most so far? Who are you looking at and saying that was a good hire?
Kapatse from Uzbekistan. Even though that wasn't really, it was more obviously Katanich with the horrible disease that he's got going on, and obviously had to step down. I think Kapatse is going to really fit with this team. I feel like Uzbekistan are going to be a bit more, because Katanich was also the same thing as Jesus Casas. I think he was feeling the pressure and not playing the best football to the capability of these players. Whereas like what I saw against Kyrgyzstan, I mean, that was 5-0. You might say 1-0, that was 5-0. And the Iran away,
easily,
they should have won 3-1. If Faisalayev finishes that chance at the end, Uzbekistan would have been maybe already qualifying to the World Cup. So I see Uzbekistan. I think they're going to make even more strides under this manager. And this manager was with them in the Olympics. He got them to their first ever Olympics appearance. And obviously Husanov to Faisalayev, those sort of players, Shmordov were playing under him. And I saw a team that actually went up against Spain and toe-to-toe. Like, they played a good game against Spain in the Olympics. So I think that managerial hiring validates it. Which one do you think doesn't validate it, though? Which manager hiring are you like, why'd you do that?
Well, I think the easy one is Shin Tae-yong for Indonesia. But outside of that, I'm honestly going to say Tintin Marquez from Qatar. That one puzzles me because Luis Garcia is a literal like no name 100% coming into this. I guess Patrick Kluivert is too when it comes to being a manager. And I don't know, Tintin Marquez won the Asian Cup. So who am I going to, I'll put it like this. Which manager was I going to back to return Qatar to their glory? I can't even believe that's a statement I'm saying on this channel. I think it would be the guy that won the Asian Cup, right? Like, that's the guy that I would back. Not some random Spanish dude who went to Espanyol and got them relegated. So that was the sacking. I'm like, okay, I get it. The UAE results are really bad, but I would have stuck with it. I would have thought that that's enough credit in the bank for Marquez to stick around. Also, it's Qatar, man. Like, they're not a top 5 team. They're arguably not a top 8 team in Asia. They're probably in that 9 to 11 range. So if he got, again, same thing with Casas. He gets them to round 4. If Qatar qualified through round 4, is anybody in the footballing world sitting there and saying, wow, Qatar, they fumbled that. How did they go to round 4 and qualify that way? No. Everyone would have been like, well, damn, all right, Qatar finally, you know what, Michael, they've never qualified for a World Cup. They've only been because they've hosted. So how could you have looked at that and been like, failure? I don't know. It just didn't make any sense to me. I thought that was ridiculous. I want to nominate a name, 2 names actually, for the new managers who have validated, and I just want to see what you think about it. Popovich with Australia. Has he done enough?
For me, not yet. I can't give it to him because these 2 performances, I'm like, you brought in some new players like Teague. I was really impressed by Teague in the midfield. I think him and Irvine complement each other very well in the midfield. But I just still look at Australia. I'm like, yeah, you beat Indonesia 5-1, but Indonesia really fumbled that game big time. I mean, the defensive 100%. Howlers in that matchup were horrible. The China game, good in the first half. The second half, they just sat back and defended. Isn't that what Australia have been doing for the last couple of years, even under Graham Arnold? So I'll give it to Popovich. He's trying to do something
Their entire
new.
History?
In the entire history, yeah, you can say that pretty much. I mean, Popovich is trying to do the best he can, and he's trying to bring in new players. But I'm like, I haven't seen massive improvements on the field. I haven't yet. So yeah, Popovich, slight improvements.
Okay, so you would lean positive.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Can't be worse than Graham Arnold at the end. He lost to Bahrain at home. Come on.
To defend Graham Arnold, it was flukish as hell. Like,
Yeah,
if Australia didn't deserve to win 5-1 against Indonesia, they definitely didn't deserve to lose against Bahrain at home. Like, Bahrain did nothing. And honestly, Bahrain's a team where it's like, that result pisses me off because it was something that everybody looked at and they're like, oh my God, are Bahrain legit? And now we've just seen the last window they had where, dude, they were, I mean, in Japan, they defended well, but I mean, I thought they're pretty poor against Indonesia away. This is a team with at least some history, and they just couldn't do anything. The name that I think is the new manager that has validated their appointment the most is Rashid Jaber with Oman. And this brings me into another mini question I have for you, which you can address both of these at the same time. Are Oman the most underrated team in AFC?
Underrated? No.
Underrated.
I wouldn't say that. No. Do you know who I think the most underrated team is? I think it's Palestine.
I love that.
I think these guys ball out every single game. The only downfall for them is, I mean, individual mistakes. The Kuwait game when it finished 2-2, even the Jordan game, you're giving 2 set pieces in the first 12 minutes. I think Palestine have been competitive in every single. If Oday Dabbak actually showed up in this round, Palestine would be on 9 points right now. I think they would be in 4th place. If the star man showed up. That's crazy. How can you be on 0 goals? He was, I thought, really good at the Asian Cup. Obviously, his time in the Belgian league didn't go so well. He made the move to Aberdeen, and it's gone pretty well at Aberdeen. I'm like, Palestine, for me, played the best football. If you're talking about a team that are in 5th place or 6th place currently in the AFC, I think Palestine are legit. I think they can go toe-to-toe with... They got a 1-1 draw with South Korea. Come on. Like, this team is very good. Now, I want to see what if Palestine somehow win their last 2 games, because they're hosting Kuwait and... No, they're not hosting Kuwait.
What's their last game? Kuwait. And then they got to go Oman neutral territory.
Oman neutral territory. Can't lie. After what I've seen the last 4 games from Palestine, I think they can win both of those games.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I asked you in episode 2 who was the best, worst team. I think we said Palestine.
Yes. I think we were first saying North Korea, and then that hasn't gone so well, has it, since then?
Yeah,
because that defense is, that ship has sunk. But I think Palestine, even away from home, have been competitive. You could say Kyrgyzstan are an underrated team at home in Bishkek, because, I mean, at Bishkek, they're monsters. I don't know what's going on there. Something in the air, maybe it's cold or whatever is going on there. But away from home, Kyrgyzstan, they get smacked up every time. It's just not the same team. So I think Palestine have clearly shown that they can be competitive in every game. For Oman, I'm just not impressed. I can't lie, man. I'm not impressed. I think the away performances...
they're a false prophet?
Yeah, a little bit of a false prophet, but you got to give them credit because they got a away win to Kuwait and a draw away to South Korea. Like, that's pretty difficult for any team in that group. Look at Jordan. They didn't do that. Or Iraq. They went away and lost to South Korea. So you got to give credit to Oman. Just some of the performances are not there for me. That say to me, yeah, you guys are warranting the underrated status.
I think Oman, if they're not the most underrated team, I would feel comfortable classifying them as the most confusing team, in the team with the least amount of information that we know, because they could literally finish second, dude. And it's not like it's not a complete impossibility. They play Jordan at home next game. Muscat is not the scariest atmosphere. South Korea went there and beat them pretty decisively. Iraq went there and got a dub. But I think Jordan, my worry with this game is that they're too focused on the Iraq match and that they're going to look past Oman, which I think would be a big mistake, because Oman at home can definitely do enough to get a draw. And if Jordan get a draw in that game, they might be in a situation where if Iraq beats South Korea at home, they might need a win. Or they could be in a situation where, they just can't lose or something to Iraq on the last match day. And I don't think a Omani victory against Jordan is impossible. I don't think it is. No. I mean, Kuwait had Jordan on the back foot in that game in Kuwait City. Like, that was...
If Yusuf Nasser was playing that game, Kuwait win.
Yeah, they probably would have won. So I see stuff like that. And if that happens, if they beat Jordan at home and they beat Palestine on the last match day on neutral ground, and Jordan and Iraq play to a standstill in Amman, 1-1 draw, something like that. That means South Korea would be in first on 17 points or more. Oman would be in second on 16. Jordan would be in third on 14, and Iraq would be in fourth, also on 14 points, but they would have a worse GD.
That would actually be insane to see Oman qualify directly from this round.
Would that be the most impressive qualifying campaign from the direct qualifications if that took place?
Oh yeah, he's. You mean in the world or in AFC?
AFC.
AFC. Oh yeah, that would be the most. That's probably the most impressive since North Korea qualified in 2010 for me. Because North Korea
Yes.
were in a very tough. I think they had South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and I think Iran in the same group. So for Oman to do this against Iraq, Jordan, and South Korea, hey, kudos, man! And now people are gonna have to realize about Omani football, and even us. For me, I don't think they're like a top 8 team in Asia right now. I
No.
wouldn't classify them. So if they qualify, wow, that is some achievement for me.
I still can't tell who's better, Bahrain or Oman. Like I would lean Oman, but I don't know. I
Would
keep
that
saying
be
this in all of my.
would that be the deadest game ever though?
Yes, it probably would be. I mean, they played each other in the Gulf Cup final, which I wasn't able to watch. I think Oman won 2-1,
Oh,
which I was
3
surprised
goals.
we. Or excuse me, Bahrain won 2-1. Which I'm surprised we got three goals in that game. But again, I wasn't able to watch it, and I couldn't even find
Yeah.
replays. It's like the Gulf Cup never happened. It's kind of weird. Not that it mattered at all, but yeah, I think Oman have the potential to have a really really underrated qualifying campaign. All right, I want to ask you an updated question. Which
Okay.
star has flopped the most in Asian qualifying? And this is part 2 because we did part 1 already. Do you remember who our number 1 answer was in that video?
Tamari.
Musa Al-Tamari. Is it still Musa Al-Tamari, or is there somebody who's leapfrogged him in the biggest fraud rankings?
This is gonna hurt you. I think it's Son.
Ooh. Is that because of the expectations?
Yes,
Okay.
expectation. Come on, bro. He is a top 3 player in Asia. But recently, I'm looking at him. I'm like, I think he's dwindling down. I can't lie. Like, look at Lee Kang-in. Comes into the game immediately off the bench against Oman. Impact. Got the assist. That's what you want from your superstars against a difficult team like Oman. Son in these 2 games, okay, he gave the set piece assist for the goal against Jordan, but other than that, I'm like, Son, man, where are you at? Obviously, he was trying to play like the more false 9 role against Jordan. It kind of works out for him because he just doesn't have the pace anymore. But against Oman, I'm sorry, that's one of the worst games I've seen from Son. Touch was off,
Terrible.
dribbling, he couldn't complete a man. I was so disappointed. I feel like Altamari has improved to when we say he was the biggest flop since the video we did. I think it was episode 2 where we talked about that. I think Altamari has improved, and making the move to, I think it was Stade in France, has helped him because he's now got more game time and he's in a competent team because Montpellier are a disaster. Whereas I look at Son, I'm like, the downfall is soon approaching. And it's not going to be a great downfall because you can just see he's so reliant on his pace in his game that when it's gone, his game just doesn't, it's not as fluid anymore. So I would probably say Son at the moment is getting to my number 1 his biggest flop.
I do think he has the technical ability to keep playing, even though the pace is going away. Like, he's a smart player, and he makes the right
Do you
plays.
think though he has to play the false 9 for that then
Yeah,
to
I
last
don't
longer?
think he can stay wide anymore. That's
Nope.
the thing. I'll push back against Son because he was still a beast in the first like 4 games, right?
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
though
Yeah. Yeah.
I think last window he was terrible, but overall, I still think he's done way more for South Korea than Hwang Hee-chan. Where the hell has that guy been? I mean, this
Well,
this
to
is
be
a
fair,
Premier League player.
Hwang Hee-chan was playing on the right wing. When have you ever seen Hwang Hee-chan play on the right wing?
That's true. Did he
Yeah.
play on the for every game or just against Oman?
That was just against Oman, and he was terrible. And then as soon as he went to the false 9 role, Lee Kang-in played him a perfect pass, and he got the goal.
I would say, from my perspective, Hwang Hee-chan deserves more smoke than Son. I
Okay.
think Son's got like 6 GA in this round. Hwang Hee-chan's got 2 goals. And again, this is a Premier League player. Like, how many teams in Asia have a Premier League player? Now, he might be one of the worst Premier League players this season. He was good last season for Wolves. He's been very bad this season. But still, like, if you want to talk relative expectations, bro, like, I mean, he is ghosting games at times. But I actually think there's one player who I think might be the cemented flop.
Who's ghosting more? No, I was going to ask you, who's ghosting more, Hwang Hee-chan or Ali Jassim?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Who's ghosting more? I'm going to say Hwang Hee-chan is ghosting more. I'm going to say narrowly he's ghosting more. I still think Ali Jassim is so important to Iraq that at least he's getting touches on the ball. At least I see him on the pitch every once in a while. Hwang Hee-chan, man, look, both not good. I am not saying Ali Jassim has had a good round 3.
Yeah.
I think he's got 2 assists, but he is not. I don't think he's had a monster game since. I don't know if he's had a monster game.
I don't think he's even had one.
round
To be
round two
honest.
against Indonesia or something was the
Yeah,
last
that's the
like
last
great
one.
game. So yeah, both of them actually. Ali Jassim was on my top five. Another name on my top five. I don't think he's number one. Oday Dabag, gotta be top five. My hater one. This is really hater. Masharipov for Uzbekistan. I
Oh,
just think he's been kind of You know what I'm saying?
playing too
I
much
think
hero ball.
Uzbekistan too much hero ball, too slow. Olympic diver on the Uzbek dive team. Just not that great. I think Uzbekistan actually attack and play better footy when he's not on the pitch. But my number one, and I would debate anybody on this. I think I got the stats to back it up. Ali Reza Jakinbash.
Jahan Bosch. Ooh.
0 goal involvements for Iran in round 3. 0 goal involvements. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
How is that possible when everybody else in the front line is eating? Gayedi
That's what I'm
eating,
saying.
Osmun eating, Taremi eating, Mohebi eating, and you
Michael,
can't
they
even get an
have
assist?
3 guys in the top 10 of the best performers in round 3. They're all attackers. And Jagenbosch isn't even mid. He's terrible.
I didn't know. I thought at least he had 1 assist or 2 assists to his
None.
name. 0?
None.
Bro, that
How
guy's
many
moving
goals
like
did
James Harden in the
Iran score?
playoffs.
Dude, it's insane. How many freaking I gotta go back to this. How many
They'd scored
goals have Iran
16
scored?
goals this round. 16.
That's
You
unacceptable.
couldn't get a goal and assist against Kyrgyzstan or North Korea, Jahan Bosch? Not one? Come on, man. Wow.
He was a ghost
might
against Uzbekistan too.
Yeah, he was not. He might just be a super sub heading into the World Cup at this rate.
He can't start
And
anymore.
no, Gayedi is much better than Jahan Bosch right now. Much better.
Absolutely. Gayedi's kind of scary to mark. Him and Mohebi, but dude, Mohebi has been that guy
Mohebi's
can't
a
stay in
beast.
Russia. He can't stay
No.
in Russia. He is bring him to La Liga. I mean,
Hey,
dude,
speaking of Russia, my tough question is here. You ready for this one? This is a Carolina Reaper question. Tough question.
oh god.
Will
All right.
will Faisalayev become the best player in Asia in 3 to 5 years?
Ooh, the best player in Asia. Okay.
Not
He's
right
got
now,
top
people.
5
By the way,
potential.
but I'm saying in 3 to 5 years, because there's already been rumors he's going to make a move to Galatasaray. Faisalayev. I can't lie, man. The way he's playing, I know he had a pretty slow start to these qualifiers, and I don't watch CSKA Moscow. I'm sorry. I mean, if somebody can get us CSKA Moscow highlights, I'll watch the games. I'll happily watch the games. But every time I see him play for Uzbekistan, especially in the last 4 games, I'm like, this guy's getting better. He's getting better. And then I saw he had an interview after the game against Iran. He was doing it in English. I'm like, this kid's ready. He's ready for the next move. Yeah, did it in English. He congratulated Iran. He's saying, by June, I think he said we hope to qualify as well with Iran. So I think Faisalayev is making every right step in his career. Bro, this guy is going to be a beast in 3 to 5 years. I think he's going to be the best player in Asia.
I have 2 main concerns for Faisalayev to be the best player in Asia. Number one, I think his main competition is Lee Gang-in from South Korea to be the best player in Asia.
What about Kubo?
I like Kubo, but not as much as everybody else.
Okay.
Does that make any sense? Like, I think Kubo's a good player.
I'm just trying to throw other names into. I'm just trying to throw other names into the hat.
Yeah, like another. I mean, is Kaoru Mitoma gonna be in the conversation in 3 to 5 years? He's already
No.
what 28?
28.
I mean, he could be. He's technical enough to, would you even say Husanov? I know he's a CB and like those guys get no love, but
good play.
like he could easily be in the conversation for best player. Yazan Al-Naimat. No, I'm kidding. I think for Faisalayev, he's got two big weaknesses. One, I think his weak foot is he's not comfortable at all shooting on his weak foot. There were several opportunities, pretty much all throughout qualifiers, where he's got a shot, and often it's one-on-one, but he takes that extra touch to bring it to his strong foot. The defender recovers, and the chance is gone. So I think he's got to get more comfortable with that. And I think finishing overall is not his strength. Like if you look at how many goals does he have? 2, right? In round 3?
Yeah, 2. I think were both of them against North Korea, or one of them was at least against North Korea. I remember he scored away against North Korea.
I think he got both against Qatar, and they were both headers, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, it was the second half comeback. The second half comeback, yeah, against Qatar away, yeah.
Oh, excuse me. He did. He's up to 4 goals. I don't know why I thought 2. I think I switched his goals and assists. So it's up to 4 goals in round 3, which is incredible, and those are all in the last 4 games. 2 of those are headers. I'm not sure how often that's going to happen. No offense on the Iran free kick, but like Jesus Christ, what was Iran doing on that?
Oh, that's Osman. That's an Osman right there.
Dude, it's on Azmoun, it's on Khalizadeh, it's on Baron. Like, somebody go for the ball. It was just like, I know some Uzbeks, bless their souls. They were like, "What a free kick from Face Alive." I'm like, "Well, hold on now,
No, let's
hold
not
on."
go that far.
Yeah, let's not act like this is Roberto Carlos we just saw. He has to get better at that. And I don't watch Moscow just like you don't. He doesn't have great stats in that league. I don't want to speak on how he plays because I'm just being a football merchant, but we still need to see a bit higher output. I'll tell you what, though, we're talking Starboy rankings. He's definitely number one. I think it is him and Harif Suhail from UAE who have been like the best young players without a doubt, in my opinion. So I think he's got top 5 potential. Absolutely. He could be the best if he improves his shooting.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said 3 to 5 years, because he's only 21, bro. Like, he's gonna keep on improving and improving. So the one thing I just love about Faisal, I think his chance creation is ridiculous. He can create anything. Yeah. I posted a clip on Twitter and that went crazy when he did the nutmeg on Kyrgyzstan. Bro, I stood up and applauded. I said, "This is Allen Iverson right here. This is Allen Iverson of Uzbek football." I'm just amazed at how good he is for his size. That's the only problem. If he goes to a league, I think Galatasaray would actually be a good move. It's a massive club. I don't think people want to. Galatasaray are a massive club playing European football consistently every season. Bro, that's going to bring more eyeballs onto Faisal, and they're going to be like, wait, there's another Uzbek out there? Not just Husanov from Manchester City? People will watch. They'll see Faisal and say, no, this kid is the real deal. So that's why in 3 to 5 years, for me, with the decline of Son, Lee Kang-in, I think he's got to make a move away from PSG to keep that status. And otherwise, who else is out there? If we're going to be honest, Irakunda? Maybe Irakunda?
That's a shout, actually. That's a shout.
Yeah.
He is a good player. Kind of, I mean, pretty similar archetypes, I would say. I mean, him, Igagin, Faisalayev are kind of the same player. They're just like,
yeah, they are.
Which one of you guys is going to be a little bit better? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. Qatar got no youth prospects coming up right now. Iraq, I mean, maybe they'll claim Zidane Iqbal. Hell no. He's not going to be the best Asian player. Ali Jassim, the dip in form is concerning. He's got to get back to playing a club. Maybe I'm throwing this from like left effing field, but maybe like Junhobe, South Korea could be another one. Or Musabal Jawar from Saudi Arabia, the midfielder. That guy's pretty saucy. He just can he be considered the best if he doesn't leave Saudi Arabia? I don't know.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. Because I'll
say
also thought
the answer is yes if he has Akram Afif numbers. Then the answer is yes.
Because I don't think Taremi will also be up there in 3 to 5 years. Taremi will be, 35
5 years, bro. You serious?
No. Hey, man.
He'll be 36.
He'll
be 36.
Look at Lewandowski. He's still scoring for fun at 37 years old? So maybe Taremi could do the same thing. Maybe. I don't know about Taremi anymore.
Maybe it's Azmoun. Maybe it's Mohebi.
Wow. Can you imagine if Azmoun is going to be the best player in 3 to 5 years in Asia?
Dude, he makes a return to Europe. That'd be crazy.
Wow. That actually would be crazy. That would be
insane. I have one question that segues well with that. Are there 5 teams in Asia better than Uzbekistan?
No, there's only 3 teams better than Uzbekistan right now. I have Uzbekistan as the 4th best team currently.
Who's the 3?
Japan, Iran, South Korea. Those are the only 3 that are better than Uzbekistan.
Okay.
I think these guys are legit. I cannot wait for them to qualify to the World Cup in June and to see what they can do at the World Cup. I really think they're going to be a sleeper team.
I'll assume you have Australia 5?
Yep. Australia 5. Then it gets difficult to see who is 6, 7, 8. Because then I think it's a battle between Jordan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Yeah, that would be. I don't have Qatar in that contention at all.
All right. Follow up here. Are Uzbekistan closer to South Korea in strength than South Korea is closer to Iran?
No, South Korea. Because you have Japan first, Iran second, right? So if we did like power rankings.
Correct.
No, I think South Korea are closer to Iran. I just think that team needs maybe a new manager. They have talent, no doubt about it. And I think they can clearly play better South Korea. Whereas I think Uzbekistan are close to playing at their peak at the moment. Like South Korea, this is a bad South Korean team we're watching right now. On the field, there's nothing to it. But we know with the talent they got, they can play at an exceptionally much better level. So I think South Korea are closer to Iran than they are to Uzbekistan.
I think the main competition for that 5 spot, if you want to say it for Uzbekistan, are Jordan and Australia. And the way I thought about it, I'm going to get very American here. If we had an NBA best of 7
Mhm.
between Uzbekistan and Jordan and Uzbekistan and Australia, I actually think Uzbekistan might win both of those, but I think both series would go to 7. I really do. Even Jordan, I think it would go to 7. If you had to play for a winner, right? There's no draws.
Mm.
I still think Jordan would get 3 dubs.
I think it would go to 6 games. I think Uzbekistan can steal now one from away from home. I think they've
Okay.
vastly improved their away form compared to what they were the past decade. Like they went to Tehran and went toe to toe with Iran. When has
Yeah.
Uzbekistan ever? Obviously, they got in a victory away to Iran. I can't remember when it was. So
14 years ago,
Uzbekistan,
maybe.
14 years ago, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think Uzbekistan have just vastly improved. It's just such a shame if they had a fully fit team at that Asian Cup. I think they would have won it.
That is
I really do.
one of the greatest what ifs for me
Mm.
is they, I don't think people realize how decimated they were in the
No
quarterfinal
Smordov
against
the
Iran.
entire tournament.
They had, and then remember they had the flu. Like the whole team
Mhm.
got the flu. Shukurov missed a game because his fever was too high. I mean, it was ridiculous, man. They had no subs, dude. Their subs for this Qatar game, I still don't know who these guys are. Shakboz Umarov, not sure that guy is. Safar Murad Abdir Abdiramatov, don't know who that is. And good gracious, who is this? Mukmadok Muk Mukmamadad Kodir? I don't even know. Kamralayev. I have no idea who these guys are. Their
Wow.
bench is like the U20s. I mean, it's
Nah, they
insane.
got that. That is honestly one of the biggest what ifs in Asian Cup history. What if Uzbekistan were just healthy for that tournament? They would have. They probably would have maybe gotten to the final. I can't say win it because that's going to be a tall order because they would have played Iran also in the semifinal. Oh, that would have been a
That would have been,
sensational game.
oh my
So
gosh.
yeah. But do you think Uzbekistan right now are the fourth best team in Asia? Have they cemented that spot?
I don't think they've cemented it. If they beat the UAE, they've cemented it. I can go as low as 5 for them right now.
And then
If you
then you
want to
bump
say
up Australia to
Australia,
fourth.
yeah, because Australia, man, yeah, they lost to Bahrain, but outside of that, they're still not losing games. And I'm not going to deduct you too many points for losing the most flukish way I've ever seen, right? Like, I mean, I still think Australia, they're just solid as a rock. It's the DNA of the team,
Yeah.
just really hard to take L's. It is what it is. And I would like Uzbekistan to do the double over UAE. If the UAE beat them, that would be a bit concerning. And then who's Uzbekistan's last game? It's got to
Qatar at home.
be Qatar at home. You cannot lose that game.
That
There's a lot riding on the Uzbeks right now.
no,
That's crazy.
I know. This is my last tough question, and just to segue from Qatar. Are Qatar the worst continental champions you've ever seen in your lifetime?
Yes,
This
especially
is
with what
actually
they've
getting
been.
just
It's getting embarrassing. What they've been tasked to do as well. This is not an impossibility for these guys, and they've been a joke.
they've conceded 21 goals in this round. Away from home, they have conceded 14 goals away from home. 14 goals away from like they gave Kyrgyzstan one of their biggest victories ever. I mean, ever. To have a victory over the defending Asian. If this team did not have Akram Afif, Lord knows what would happen to this team. They might be below Kyrgyzstan at this moment in time. I'm trying to think of like other teams that have defended their Euros or Copa Americas or AFCONs. Like the biggest example I could give is probably Greece 2004. They didn't qualify for the World Cup. Although if you look at the history, they had a really difficult group. They did qualify for the next Euros after that. You could look at Egypt when they had their golden period of winning 3 straight AFCONs. They didn't qualify for either 2006 World Cup or 2010, but I mean,
That's a good
AFCON,
one.
CAF World Cup
That's a really
qualifiers are
good
very
one.
difficult. So those are the only two I can compare to. And I mean, this Qatar team are embarrassing though. Like this is embarrassing standards. If you told somebody like, "Hey guys, Qatar were the Asian Cup champions," they'd be like, "They're losing to
Yeah.
Kyrgyzstan. Are you sure about that?" Like some
This
neutral
was the
person
best
would be
team in
like,
Asia,
"Yeah, exactly."
back
You
to
would just say,
back.
"This is the best team." This is some fraudulence going on at the highest order. So I don't know how Qataris feel. They got to feel like, are we this bad? Actually, was just the Asian Cup a fluke at this moment in time? So for me, they are reaching that status of the worst continental champion ever.
Without knowing much, let me put that out there first.
Hmm.
I would say the Egypt ones are pretty bad, given Egypt is like the premier power
And they won
in
3 in a row.
Africa, and they're the only team to win 3 AFCONs in a row. Qatar were a nobody team until 2019. Dude, they hadn't even won a game in the knockouts of the Asian Cup, and they'd only made the knockouts twice. So, yes, winning the Asian Cup put expectations on them that probably, I mean, not even probably, they didn't deserve at any point. You and I knew. Nobody was saying like, wow, are Qatar actually like the number one team in Asia? Like, it was an amazing tournament from them. Congratulations. I'm not going to take that away. But they were always at best 6th in Asia, 7th. I think you could put them at 6th or 7th after the Asian Cup. Egypt, I think that looks a little worse, but I'm sure they didn't get, I'm sure they weren't the worst effing team in their group, right? They probably lost the final games.
Yeah, if I remember, I think they had a group of Cameroon and Ivory Coast, and that was the beginning of the golden generation for Ivory Coast. Yeah, and then in 2010,
those were four team groups,
5-team groups. And they had a group with Cameroon and Ivory Coast. Then for 2010 World Cups, I think it was a playoff against Algeria. So,
is that the famous,
and people,
brawl?
No, the famous game, yeah, the famous brawl. So people got to look into that. Now, do you want to put in Greece 2004? Possibly.
No. I mean, there's no expectations though. Is the thing. I think everybody was like, "Wow, Greece like defended and terrorized their way to a Euro."
But to be fair, you win the Euros and you're expected still to qualify for the World Cup. Although after that, when they missed the 2006 World Cup, they qualified to the Euro 2008, and they did qualify to the World Cup after that. So they kind of redeemed themselves anyways.
Again, I would need to see how bad they were in the qualifying for the 2006 World Cup. Like, would they just like rock bottom? They were beneath Latvia, or did they like just miss out by 1 point? And they had
I think they just missed out. I think they just missed out as well to Ukraine or something like that.
Also, dude, it would be like if Greece went back to back and then didn't. And then didn't qualify. It'd be like it's like double bad.
So yeah, the best comparison for this Qatari team is the Egypt team.
Yeah,
I would say that's the best comparison.
Do you think if you were Qatari, if you and I were Qatari though, or we were Jordanian or anything like that, would you take the 2 Asian Cups if it meant not making it to the World Cup? Comment down below.
No, I gotta get 1 Asian Cup and qualify to the World Cup. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I told you it had to be one or the other. You missed 2 straight World Cups, but as you know, the divine, I will give you 2 Asian Cups.
See, I'm a World Cup simp, so I got to qualify to the World Cup.
Okay, I'm a federation,
continental simp. Not as host either, by the way. Outright.
Okay. Very interesting. I would take the Asian Cups. Personally, I would.
Why?
Because I think you need trophies for certain generations and time periods to be remembered. That would be my argument, is that like Colombia, for example. I use this example all the time because it's very recent. They needed that Copa America to prove that like, oh, that massive unbeaten run where, they beat freaking Spain, dude, right before the Euros. In Spain, let's not forget. And terrorized everybody to the way to the final, and then they lost, and now they're kind of on a downward spiral, and maybe they're never going to get that opportunity again. And now nobody's going to remember that amazing Colombian generation. And so I think like you look at how much AFCONs mean to African teams. You look at how much like the Copa America means, especially when like Argentina won it for the first time this generation, Uruguay in 2011, and it's just whenever you get your hands on silverware, it just matters so much more. And I think if you are a Asian or African team, look, no team from that federation has ever won the World Cup before. And so the only way for me for a World Cup to equal or better a continental trophy is you have to make the semifinals like what Morocco did. I would think a semifinals, we get a 4th place. I would take a 4th place over an Asian Cup if I was Japanese. But would I take just going to the World Cup and getting grouped or getting knocked out in the round of 16, being embarrassed by Brazil 5-1 if I'm South Korea? I bet you most Koreans would probably take the Asian Cup. You haven't won it in 60 years. You know what I'm saying? There's no right answer, but
no,
I think the trophy matters.
I don't know. It's just being at the biggest stage possible in football and having your nation there represented. Of course, it might not go always the greatest, as we saw with Saudi Arabia in 2002 when they lost, 8-9-0 to Germany. It doesn't always go well, but at least you could say you qualified to the World Cup. This Qatari team, they remind me of one team, actually, Jack. They remind me of Chile. They won the Copa America 2015, 2016. They didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2018. And they were supposed to, by the way. They one of the best teams in South America. And you win 2 Copa Americas and you don't qualify for the World Cup. I wonder what Chileans would answer. Obviously, if there's any Chileans watching an AFC video, shout out to you, by the way. And what would be your
Yes.
choice? Would you take the both Copa Americas, or would you qualify for the World Cup in 2018? They did qualify in 2014, though.
And they were decent in the group, but they lost to Colombia in the round of 16.
Brazil, penalties.
Brazil, you're right. Okay, I knew it was a CONMEBOL matchup. Yeah, maybe. Okay, on the flip side, if you're Costa Rican, right, would you have taken that dream run in 2014?
Oh, yes.
Bro, they haven't won a trophy in like 80 years.
I don't care, bro. They beat that group with fucking England, Italy, and Uruguay, and they made it to a quarterfinal, and were just one penalty shootout from beating the Dutch. Costa Ricans will never forget that moment, bro. They are the best CONCACAF team in this century, probably the past 50 years, 60 years of the World Cup. Costa Rica, of all teams. Nah, they will take that all day, every day, I think.
See, I'm too much of a continental simp. I think if they could get their hands on like 2 Nations League back to back, beat do you know how much they would love to beat Mexico in a final and beat the US too in the semis or something? Like that would, I think that would be. I don't want to downplay the 2014 World Cup at all, but
they could tell Mexicans they've been to Quinto Partido and they haven't.
That's true, but then I feel like Mexico just opens up the trophy case, and literally trophies are falling out of it. So it's like,
falling out of
it. You made it. Point. Yeah, I don't know if that's the fight I would pick, or maybe like Ivorians, right? Like, I don't know. It's not guaranteed that they're going to go to the next World Cup, but they won the last AFCON as host. Was it worth it? I mean, seemed like the streets were absolutely rocking after that last AFCON. So, those are memories as well. I don't know. I don't know if there's a right answer. I want to see teams take their continental tournament as seriously as possible and try to go out and win
100%
every single time.
Oh yeah, I do agree with that as well. So that's a very interesting dilemma then for Qataris. Are you happy you won the Asian Cup? Of course, you're going to be thrilled you won it. But now you're looking at your team and you're like, we shouldn't even be qualifying. Like, can people actually tell me right now and say we deserve to qualify? No, you don't. You've been terrible.
Oh, no. Terrible.
Horrific.
They've been horrific.
Maybe we have to get like Akram Mafif to naturalize to an Indonesian or something going on here. That's what we have to do now for Akram Mafif. The guy should be at the World Cup.
He will arguably be one of the biggest misses of any player if they don't make it to the World Cup. But like, dude, imagine you're Qatari and you have 2 Asian Cups now. Like, what? That'd be like, I don't know. That'd be like Lebanon just getting back-to-back Asian Cups. They'd be like, how did we do? What just happened? We didn't get 1, we got 2. Meanwhile, Iran haven't won since the 70s. Saudi Arabia haven't won since 90?
90s, I think, yeah. South Korea since the 50s.
South Korea since the 50s. I think 1960 was the last one they won, if I'm not mistaken. And Qatar's got 2. It's insane. It's insane. So I don't know. Dude, I talked about this with Albert in a separate video, and we can end this one now. But 2027 Asian Cup is going to go so hard because every single big team needs a trophy. All of them, except maybe Australia because they won 10 years ago. But everybody else, it's been a long time, man. It's been a long time. God forbid Uzbekistan come in and steal it. Holy shit! It's gonna be.
I will naturalize into an Uzbek if that happens.
Yes,
I will be straight in Tashkent getting my passport.
We're gonna have to take the pod to Tashkent. Absolutely. Honestly, it doesn't even sound that bad. It looks like a beautiful country. But guys, we're gonna go ahead and end the episode there. We hope you enjoyed AFC Tough Questions episode 4. And yes, we will be back for episode 5 after the madness.
That's gonna be legendary. Episode 5 is gonna be legendary.
Dude, you cannot miss episode 5. It's like watching the first 2 Lord of the Rings and not watching Return of the King. You gotta watch that final episode. So hit subscribe for that. And of course, Michael and I will have tons of other AFC videos dropping on our respective channels. So make sure you're subscribed to both of them and make sure you follow both Michael and myself on social media. Links in the description. Share the channel with a friend. Leave a like on the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.